Hi, greetings and welcome to On the Table. We are broadcasting on RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel 123, which is also right now live streaming on YouTube. I'm your host, Brendan Paul. Right, let's get the ball rolling, shall we? On tonight's episode, in the next 30 minutes, we'll be discussing Malaysia's priorities and initiatives as ASEAN Chair next year in relation to the ASEAN Economic Community Agenda. And right now, we would like to welcome to the studio Puan Mastura Ahmad Mustafa, Deputy Secretary General Trade of the Ministry of Investment, Trade and also Industry. Thank you so much, Puan Mastura, for being here, for joining us right now to talk about this wonderful agenda which will be happening next year, Puan.
Okay, thank you, Brendan, and thank you, RTM, for inviting me to this special session when we have the opportunity to talk about our preparation as the host of ASEAN in 2025. So, I think, as you're aware, MITI is actually the lead for the economic pillar. Under the ASEAN, we have three pillars. There is political security, economic, and socio-cultural. So MITI is handling the economic pillar, and that is why we have to actually do a lot of preparations on what we're going to deliver for the economic pillar to showcase how much ASEAN has done to boost the economic development of the whole region. So what we are doing now is actually identify what will be the Malaysia priority economic deliverables.
Right.
We have started the work early this year, and we are engaging all the stakeholders. For us, even though it's ASEAN, but we have to sort of give priority to our own community. We want to understand what our economic community in Malaysia wants out of this ASEAN, out of the chairmanship. So, but overall, the PED will be based on the 4 strategic thrusts.
Right.
Okay. The first one is enhancing trade and investment.
Right.
Creating an inclusive and sustainable pathway. Promoting integration and connectivity of economies. And lastly, building a digitally resilient ASEAN. Why we need to do this is because under the Malaysian leadership in 2025, we want to drive the creations of sustainable, interconnected, inclusive and forward-looking ASEAN economy.
Right.
So the deeper integration will not only enhance intra-ASEAN relations, but it also positions the region to become a more influential global economic player. So under these 4 strategic thrusts, we are actually try to take the opportunities to make Malaysia and ASEAN to tackle the current challenges, that is mega trends and emerging global issues.
Right.
For example, geopolitical issues, even though it's not an economic issues, but it have sort of directly impact on our economic issues.
Right. As we know, the baton will be passed over to different countries in ASEAN. Okay. And right now being passed to us from Laos, for us to carry on with the baton for next year, 2025. It's going to be a significant year for us next year. Now, first and foremost, you've just mentioned with all the pillars and the area that we're going to focus with regards to Malaysia being the host of ASEAN 2025. How significant is this, first and foremost? Okay.
Actually, the passing of baton according to alphabetical order.
Right.
So, and we are very lucky because last 10 years ago, when we hosted the ASEAN in 2015, we are actually launching the ASEAN Community Blueprint 2025.
Right.
So this time around, when we host another round of ASEAN Chairmanship, we actually have one to deliver what happened in the last 10 years, the blueprint, whether it's successful or not. We have to announce the level of progress and achievement of that blueprint, as well as to launch a new blueprint for the ASEAN. That is what we call as ASEAN Community Vision 2045.
It's very significant when that happens.
It's very significant.
When you touch base on what was mentioned 10 years ago, revisiting that and come forward with another set of blueprints just to move forward together with all the ASEAN countries. I think it's something significant that Malaysians out there can actually take a look at the progress that we've come from how far we've come 10 years ago and what it is right now. Now, coming back to some of the initiatives, what specific initiatives or policies is Malaysia considering right now, at this point in time, next year, to facilitate the free flow of goods, because everyone's talking about goods, services, investments, even skilled labour and capital within the AEC?
Okay. Actually, when we sort of form what we call ASEAN Free Trade Area, there are three broad areas that we cover under that ASEAN Free Trade Area.
Three broad areas.
Yeah, that is trade in goods, trade in services and investment.
Right.
So we have what we call ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement. We have ASEAN Trade in Goods Services, trade in services,
right,
as well as ASEAN a comprehensive agreement on investment. Okay, on the ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement, actually what we have achieved so far, about 98% of the tariff lines of the goods imported traded intra-ASEAN
right,
actually duty-free.
Right, okay.
With no duty.
Right.
So that is how we want to facilitate. So we feel that, okay, now the duty has been eliminated. What's next? What's actually deter the enhancement or the growth of the intra-ASEAN trade? So now we are reviewing the Artica, looking at the new areas that can actually will further enhance and promote the trade in goods within ASEAN itself. The same goes to ASEAN Trade in Services Agreement. The main core things under this is movement of natural person.
Right.
How free the professionals and the skilled labours move throughout ASEAN to support each other in our development of whatever activities, economic sectors that we have in the country.
So which means to say the workforce?
Yeah, the workforce. But we are talking about skilled workforce.
Right.
Not just
just general.
We don't want each of ASEAN countries being done with labours, low paid labours and so on.
That's right.
We are focusing on professionals and skilled labours. So that is the thing that we want to make sure that the professional mobility is well regulated while boosting the economic integration.
Right.
Because, as I said, even though we want ASEAN integration, but at the same time we also have to protect our own community to make sure that the movement will not jeopardize our professional, but at the same time will facilitate them to go and provide their services in other ASEAN countries.
I think that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, being able to just move around and to contribute not just to your country, but ASEAN as a whole, so that ASEAN member countries can move forward in that sense and together be strong, not just here in Malaysia, but all other countries can be, that powerful in order to move forward. Now, thank you so much for those explanations, Puan Mastura. Now, coming back to this, right, how will Malaysia collaborate with other ASEAN member states to address issues such as non-tariff barriers? I mean, can I even say this first and foremost? Wouldn't this the agenda as well for the previous country as we move forward? Is it going to be changed every single time when another country takes on the batons and we have new initiatives, so on and so forth? How does it even matter in the first place?
Okay. The liberalisation process is not a short-term process.
Right.
It's consumed time to do the negotiations, and sometimes what we have concluded in certain years is only a limited number of initiatives. For example, we have negotiated what we call mutual recognition agreement.
Right.
So maybe in 1 year we manage only to cover, let's say, only pharmaceutical, and even under pharmaceutical you have different categories of products.
It's huge, yeah.
So every time the baton pass to another country, they will enhance, they will add on to that mutual recognition to cover other products and other sectors.
Right.
So that is what we are doing. So far, to address the non-tariff measures, as we know, we have eliminated the duties.
Right.
So what else that actually will block the entry of our goods and services in each other country. So that is how we address it through the mutual recognition arrangement, where, for example, a product, if it has been passed by testing in Malaysia, when they enter into another country, why should they undergo another test? So by having this mutual recognition agreement, where the other ASEAN member countries also recognise our testing and the result of the testing, they should automatically accept it and can be distributed in the market for the same product. So that is how we actually address the non-tariff measures. But at the same time, we also enhance the what we call transparency concept, where we have a notification whenever we are coming out with a new policy or new regulation. We will inform all ASEAN member countries that we're going to do this, and the effective date is from this date and another date, so that they can prepare their industry for them to make sure that they will comply to our regulation and will not take it as a non-tariff measure or non-tariff barriers to their product to enter into the market.
Right. Now, let's talk about also the harmonization of standards and regulations. I think you just touched base on that particular one. Now, as you know, 2024, moving into 2025, we are talking about digital things.
Yes.
Digital goodness, right? But what about digital economy integration? What is it like then?
Okay. We have to understand the 10 countries of ASEAN have a different level of development.
Right.
Some of the countries are digitally advanced, like Singapore and Malaysia.
Yeah.
But there are countries that having difficulty to even the infrastructure of the internet and everything.
That's right.
So currently, ASEAN is negotiating what we call digital economy framework agreement. So this will be an agreement which can cover the whole ecosystem of digital world. They have
whole world?
Yeah, the whole concept of ecosystem.
Right.
It will cover only ASEAN. So it's provide discipline on how to trade goods digitally, how to the data flow and everything. So that is what we are trying to do to make sure that ASEAN is actually at par with the development of the digital, and it was actually launched on 3rd September 2023, and it's still under negotiations. We are pushing very hard to conclude it next year. So it will be one of what Malaysia will deliver next year. That is the Digital Economy Framework Agreement.
And we hope that that happens. Because as you mentioned, Puan Masra, it's not like a snap of a finger that things can actually happen, because it takes time. But the good thing here is that as long as it takes time, but rest assured, moving forward is the key right now. And what role does Malaysia envision? Because when you talk about private sector, we are also talking about inclusivity here. So what role does Malaysia envision for the private sector in supporting the goals of the AEC, and what measures will be taken to enhance public-private collaboration?
Okay. You know, I mentioned just now, we have lots of negotiations. Whatever the outcome of negotiation is actually to facilitate trade and investment. But all this initiative, all this effort will come to nothing if it's not being utilised by somebody. It's all for the business people. It's for the private people, for them to do businesses within ASEAN and to prosper and grow their business in the. So what we need private sector to do is actually take advantage of all the agreement, of all the initiative that the government has negotiated and deliver to the country. Because all that we are doing is actually reducing the barrier. So now take full force of that, whatever benefit that we have offered to you, and make sure that your business will grow. What we call it, expound.
And not just here in the country, but in ASEAN. But I think the key thing that you just mentioned right here is not about creating barriers. It's about reducing barriers, right? And Puan Masra, you wanted to talk more about this particular regulation. Please go ahead. When it comes to definitely how the private sector can actually come into this picture altogether.
Okay. again, when you talk about just now digitalization and everything, driving the innovation and technology, okay, again, we are hoping that our businesses will continue to innovate and collaborate using digital platform and to actually expand the region capabilities. I think we have now go into artificial intelligence,
That's
blockchain, and Internet of Things, so that these are all what the private sector can contribute to the whole ecosystem. And then another thing is about sustainable development.
Right.
Malaysia has announced our goal to achieve net zero by 2050. So we cannot achieve this without contribution by the private sector, because they have to make sure that whatever activity that they are doing is actually to be more greener and less carbon release. So they are also must come together with the government to support this vision for this net zero target. And within ASEAN, we are actually trying our best to come up with an understanding of each other level of adaptations to the sustainability concept and what we call IESG, environment, social and governance. So these are all the things that we need private sector to come together with us and support the visions of ASEAN.
Very fantastic. Nicely put out there. And definitely it's not about creating barriers. It's all about reducing barriers. Now, Puan Masura, and of course the viewers out there, we're going for a quick break. Because when we come back, there are a lot more to discuss. Then again, get ready Malaysia. We'll be talking about ASEAN and its chairmanship that's about to happen next year. We're going to be dissecting even more right after this. This is On the Table. Catch you then in a bit. And welcome back. Now, Puan Masura, let's move on, right? Because time is definitely of the essence and we have still lots more to discuss with regards to Malaysia being the chairman next year for ASEAN. Now, Puan Masura, how does Malaysia plan to leverage the AEC position, ASEAN as a more competitive and also attractive at the same time when it comes to investment destination, not just in ASEAN but globally?
Okay. We should actually leverage on ASEAN strength. We have to know that the whole of ASEAN, the GDP is actually nearly US dollar 3.67 trillion as of 2022. And ASEAN is actually stand as the third largest economy in Asia and the fifth largest globally.
Wow.
Okay, so following the US, China, Japan and Germany. Okay, our target is by 2030, ASEAN will become the world's fourth largest economy.
Wow.
So this in terms of GDP, but we have more elements to be to actually focus. There is our population, around 650 million people, and about more than 30% of them is actually young and dynamic individual at the age between 15 to 34 years old.
Right.
So this is actually the strength of ASEAN, which can actually attract investment into the region because of these numbers. So what we have done for Malaysia, we have actually identified several strategic initiatives. The first one is market integration within the ASEAN. Okay. That is the one that I mentioned just now, the 3 agreements and additional agreement that we're going to enter into regarding the digital to actually promote deeper economic integration and by supporting the reductions of trade barriers and harmonizations of regulations. Then this one is actually make it easier for the investor to operate in the region.
Right.
And then we enhance connectivity. So we have to make sure to invest in infrastructure, transportation and digital network, and then because by improving this connectivity, you actually facilitate the flow of trade as well as the flow of trade as well as attracting investor, because you actually provide efficient logistic and supply chain solution to the investor. And the third one, this is very important, skill development and talent mobility. There is no use to attract investor to come to the country, but you have no talent, you have no workers for those factory or facility that they have. So we have to actually create more workforce and talent that actually suit with the current demand of the industry. So by looking at our education system, tailor it to produce relevant or demanded skill workforce. And ASEAN have a lot of workforce, but we need to boost the talent. We have to focus on skilling and upskilling of our workforce. And then we also promote what we call is collaborative policies. This is another effort for sort of harmonizations of the policies, so that we can actually to support the sustainable investment practices. And this is actually to make the regions more attractive to those more advanced countries who are looking at sustainability, greener investment, and so on.
So this will definitely bring forward next year, of course, the agenda. Part of the agenda, as you mentioned, because there are numerous pillars, and this is part of the pillar that definitely Malaysia is focusing. Now, what strategies will Malaysia employ? Now, of course, this is to ensure the equitable and inclusive development of the AEC, particularly, now, when you mention small business, so this would be for them who are watching at home right now. When it comes to small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and, of course, the less developed member states.
When you talk about SMEs and less developed member states, the first thing that will come up to your mind is actually financing. So what we need to do is to enhance the access to financing, especially to our SMEs. We have to develop a targeted funding program and Microsoft finance options for them. Because if they want to compete with MNCs and other bigger companies,
it's going to be
none of the it's very challenging, because they cannot come up with something that they can guarantee to lower the risk of their investment. Secondly, is about capacity building. We have to continue educating and training our SMEs for them to be prepared for the bigger world out there, especially the compliance of the regulations, even the packaging and labeling. Because it's as simple as that, because they don't understand why in the label they have to have this information and that information, but that is the requirement in other market. So this is the element that we have to do to help our small and medium enterprise. In terms of the least developed members of ASEAN, under the ASEAN, we have various funding from our dialogue partner, where they also provide capacity building, not only to the members of the officials from the ministry, but also to the private sector. We have various workshop, training session to build up the capacity of the SMEs as well as the people from the least developed countries. And then we have also market access initiative. We create platform that can connect SMEs with larger businesses and international market to facilitate trade opportunities. What we do in Malaysia, actually, MITI, first, when we get a big investor into the country, we will try to link these particular MNCs with the supplier from our SMEs to supply basic things like small parts and components.
It depends on the type of.
When they are actually can prove themselves that they can supply to these big MNCs, meaning they are actually ready to export their product. Because definitely when these MNCs can procure their products, it can definitely will be acceptable in other market.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are other things, regulatory support, technology adoption, and infrastructure development. These are all the things that we are trying to, the government is trying our best to make sure that the SMEs will not be left behind with all these liberalizations and advancement of the economic policy.
Lovely. Puan Masura, we are running out of time, but very quickly and briefly, now in the face of global economic uncertainties, I think it's very important that we touch base on this one. How does Malaysia intend to strengthen the resilience and also the adaptability of the AEC?
Okay. We know with the global uncertainties nowadays, it's very important for us to actually enhance our regional integration. So what we are trying to do is to develop a robust, resilient and interconnected supply chain within ASEAN. Primarily is actually to ensure the efficient movement of goods and services across the ASEAN itself.
That's definitely important.
And what we need to do is actually to reduce bottlenecks as well as the minimizing the delay. So I think you can see that how our Prime Minister is very serious when he himself visited border between Malaysia and Thailand, as well as Singapore.
Right.
So just to make sure that there will be no delay and the movement of transportation there can flow smoothly. I have an example here. During COVID-19, actually ASEAN has come up with the declarations of the special ASEAN Summit on COVID-19 to reaffirm ASEAN commitment to collective action and policy coordination in combating the pandemic. So in the declaration, actually the leaders agree to maintain open market, offer targeted support to assist people and businesses, notably micro, small and medium enterprise, ensure robust social safety nets for our populace and promote the formulations of post-pandemic recovery plan. Okay, because we know whenever the time there is a shortages of certain things. People will actually be selfish and make sure that the supply is only good for their country. So by having this understanding among the ASEAN, we know that we need to help each other and to make sure that we can get all the essential items that we need during the pandemic, as well as what will be our recovery plan when the pandemic is over.
Post-pandemic,
So those are the things that we will try to enhance within ASEAN. Another one is on food security.
Food security.
This is another area that we need to actually strengthen to make it more resilient. So we have this ASEAN Leaders Declaration on strengthening food security and nutrition, which outline key strategies for tackling the challenges. Is emphasized on quick response mechanism during crisis to prevent food shortages and promotes the development of sustainable food and agriculture system for future.
The pandemic has taught us a lot, isn't it? Not just the country, but of course our member states around us in order to help each other, so on and so forth. Now, Puan Masura, fortunately we're running out of time, but before we go, very briefly, very briefly, if you could summarize the whole thing, what ASEAN, what Malaysia is doing next year for ASEAN 2025, what would it be?
Okay. What we're going to, for economic pillar, what we're going to try to deliver is not for ASEAN for today, but ASEAN, we want to prepare ASEAN for the future.
Wow. That's it. Wow, nice. Thank you so much, Puan Masura, for actually being here in the studio to talk to us about this one with regards to the economy pillar of ASEAN. Next year, as you know, is going to be a very big year for us Malaysians. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for On the Table this evening. So we've been talking to Puan Masura Ahmad Mustafa, Deputy Secretary General Trade of the Investment, Trade and Industry Ministry. Now, if you missed out on this particular episode, don't worry, because a repeat of this episode's broadcast can be viewed again at the same time tomorrow and subsequent days on both RTM Click and also MyTV's Berita RTM channel, which is also live streaming on YouTube. Till next Thursday, we will be discussing another topic of interest. Until then, I'm Brenda Lepal, signing off. Good night, Malaysia. Take care.